Forms are an important part of Spider Impact because they allow you to collect data from anybody. They supplement existing systems of record. You could add new columns that aren't in the original data source. You can add new entire records that aren't in the original data source, or maybe the information you want doesn't exist anywhere and you want to collect it. For example, a new survey of employees or something like that. So here's what a form looks like. Forms, you build these yourself and they can look like however you want, but in this particular example, you can search for customers. I'm going to type in, oh, that's the one I want, hit edit customer. I can go in there and change whatever fields I've set to be editable. Okay, I want to change the country from Australia to Canada, right, and hit save. Or I can create, don't want to save that, or I can create a brand new customer, right, and fill out all the information and oh, that one doesn't match, right? It has to be an email. You can do form validation. That's another thing that makes it really helpful, is that you can restrict the type of information you collect from people to be a very to match your data requirements. So let's start all over completely from scratch and just build a brand new form. So here's what I've got. In this example, we're going to be supplementing data that I already have, but again, you could create a completely blank data set and fill it in with whatever information you want. These are my customers. Got a few hundred of them. They're their first name, last name, phone number, email, and their country, right? Completely fictitious data, but it's going to give us a good starting spot. Let's go to a brand new organization here. And we're going to create a new data set. Again, you could create a completely blank one if you want. I'm going to upload a file, and we're going to call this Customers Demo. Okay, this is my data, looking good. No transformations. These are the fields coming in. All looks great. The data set's going to build up. Now you can explore this a little bit, right? How many okay, about half my customers are from the United States, and you can build a real quick chart. We're going to say, let's make this a blank chart and add a bar. And we'll just say the number of records, keep it simple, and we'll repeat by country. Perfect. So I've got my 4 countries, exact same data. I've got my data set, and I can create dashboards and reports and charts just like this one. Things are good to go. So let's start collecting some data. We go back to the dataset section, and we can go to the Records tab. And the Records tab allows me to just explore my data. Now there's nothing I can do. I can't add a record, I can't edit a record, I can't do anything because I haven't designated my data as being editable. So that's the first step of forms, is go to your data set and make this thing editable. I want to allow manually adding new records. So now when I go to the Records tab, there's this little Add button. And so now I can fill out whatever information I want here, right? Again, this isn't not as good as forms. It's good for being an administrator if you want to quickly clean up some data or something, but this is not what you want to share with people, right? You've got no control over order or formatting or data validation or anything like that. Can't edit any records yet. Why not? Well, because I haven't designated any records yet as being editable. So I'm going to go to Fields. Let's say the country is going to be editable. So I'm going to say, allow this field's values to be overridden. I'm going to save it. So now when I go to the Records tab, I can change just the country. And so I'm going to change this country to whatever I want, right? I'm not going to actually save that. So that's the general idea, is before you build your forms, you either need to be able to manually add new records to a data set, or you need to be able to override fields, or both, right? And the permissions on the Forms section are identical to the permissions on the Records tab. If you can add or edit things on the Records tab, you can add or edit things for forms. So let's start building out a form. We're going to click New Form, and we're going to call this Customer Management. We're going to connect it to this Customer Demos data set we just created. And let's add a page. This new page is going to be called Customer Details. All right, and I'm going to create the page. I'm just going to add a whole bunch of, let's go back real quick. There's different things you can add to your forms page, right? Single field, so it allows you to type a value in the box. You've seen that already. A bunch of check boxes, they're great for yes, no. Text for instructions. Buttons, when you click a button, something happens. You can assign actions or logic. And a record list lists a bunch of records that match a certain set of criteria. So we're going to choose single field, and we're going to add the country and email and first name and last name and phone number. And finally, we're going to add a button. And this button, we're going to drag it up because everything's drag and drop in the form section. Drag the wrong thing. I'm going to put the button on top. Now we're going to keep it on the bottom. And we're going to call this Save Customer. We're going to give it an action, which saves the current record. Perfect. And we're going to save this. So country, email, first name, last name. Let's reorganize this a little bit. Country will be last. Email will be before phone number. Looking good. So when we go to view this form, it's pretty darn simple. Creates a brand new record, right? First name, last name, email. You can leave them blank. There's no validation at all. And we're going to hit Save Customer. Great. This super, super simple form just saved a customer. So let's go back to the data set and see what just happened. We're going to go to the Records tab. And we're going to add well, there's the thing we just added. You can see this was manually added. It's the nonsense thing we did, and we can just delete this. Another thing we could add, if it was buried deep inside, you can say record manually added is yes, and then it's going to show you just those records, right? But it's right on the top because we just added it, so we'll delete that thing. All right, our forms work. Very exciting. Let's make this thing smarter. So we're going to edit the form again, and we're going to create a new page. We're going to call this Starting Page. We're going to give it some widgets. We're going to give it a record list widget, which just lists a bunch of widgets. So we're going to add columns. Let's say first name, last name, country, last name, country, maybe? That'll be good. And we're going to give it, we're going to add, so first of all, we'll just see what this looks like. Put the starting page here, and we're going to say the starting page is the starting page. Okay. So now when we view the form, it looks like this. It's just the starting. It just lists the customer widgets, or the fields that we chose. And I'm going to look for, okay, perfect. Right? You can search for fields, do whatever you want. All right, back into editing. We're going to go to customer details again. Starting page, and we're going to do some things. So we're going to edit this thing. We're going to add a button. We're going to call this Edit Customer and give it an action. What does that action do? It goes to the customer details page for whatever I clicked on. So that's good. We're going to save that. And then we're going to edit the customer details page and give that button one more action. So right now, when you click the button, it saves the record. Let's do one extra thing. We're also going to go to the starting page. So it's going to save the current record and take you back to that starting page. Let's test our new flow. So here we are, customer record list. I can search for a person. There we go. That's the one I want. I hit Edit Customer. It takes me to the customer record. Well, I can't edit these fields, right? Because I didn't designate them as being editable, but the country is editable. So I can type whatever I want in there. Now that, gosh, I only have four countries I've been selling to. And I don't want to misspell it, because what happens if I do United States in lower caps or whatever, lowercase, and so it doesn't match the existing records. So let's go back and change that. But anyways, I've got it edited. I can undo whatever changes I make. But let's just say we go to Canada and we hit Save Customer. Takes us back to our record list. Fantastic. We'll change that customer details information. We're going to edit country. And what do you want to show in the drop-down? I can show specific values. So I can restrict it to Canada and whatever, right? I can show specific values and they can only choose specific values. I might have sales to another country, so I'm just going to say, suggest other record values in there. And the input's optional? No, the input is required. So let's save that. Let's take a look at our form. Going to edit this customer. Oh, great. There's a predefined value, and I can choose. I can type whatever I want, no problem. But if there's nothing in there, it's going to suggest values from other records, saving me a lot of time, reducing mistypes. All right, things are looking really, really good. One more thing I want to do is I want to be able to create a new record. So I'm going to go to the starting page. I'm going to add a widget. It's a button. Bring that all the way to the top. I'm going to call it New Customer. And its action is going to be clear all fields and start a new record and take them to the customer details page. So now I'm going to reuse that customer's details page for creating new records and editing records. Now I could have different pages, right? I could have one page for creating new customers and one page for editing customers, but it's going to save me a lot of time to keep them all in the same one. And so now when I view this page, I can go to edit a customer, looking good, or see what happens there. Okay, great. Or I can create a new customer. Now notice how I'm typing nonsense into these countries. We go back to the chart section. Notice how I've got two nonsense countries added in. And that's what's so great about this form section, right? Is because you build all your charts and reports and dashboards off of these forms, but when you collect information, it goes into datasets, which populates everything else. So that's the general idea of the form section. One last thing I want to show you. These forms are amazing because you can share them with other users. So I can go to Send To, and I can go to Shared Form, and I can create a link. And I can share this, I can embed this form in an existing third-party site, or I can share this form with somebody else. I could text them, email them, or whatever. So we're going to go to a new browser tab. And paste that in. This is my shared form, right? You don't have to have a license to use this. So if you're doing surveys or whatever, I've exposed this. Now again, only give the people the right permissions. You don't want to share a form that can mess up your data. Only expose the right kind of data you want to share. But now I've got this entire customer management mini app that anybody out there can play with. So they can, search for whatever, edit the customer, fill in details, and save it. So that's forms in Spider Impact. Super helpful utility to allow you to collect data from anywhere.